Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, we've got licensed marriage and family therapist Johnathan Van Viegen on the show as we take on the pullback. You know, that experience you maybe had when you're dating someone and then their energy shifts. They seem to pull back, or maybe that person has been you. Why does this happen, and how can we approach it without letting fear or anxiety take over? Johnathan offers a thoughtful perspective on approaching these situations with curiosity, understanding, and self-compassion that I think you'll be very interested to hear. We also explore how to reframe your needs as wants and desires to create open and collaborative communication with potential partners. Johnathan will introduce his red flag, green flag strategy, which helps you evaluate someone's intentions while maintaining healthy boundaries so you can date with clarity and confidence. And finally, we discuss the importance of cultivating self-love and why the love you seek is not only deserved, but absolutely attainable. So, whether you're dealing with mixed signals or simply looking for ways to feel more secure in your dating life, this episode is full of insights to help you date with more focus. All right, Flarties, let's meet Johnathan.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, Flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, Flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, on the show today, we have couples therapist Johnathan Van Viegen to navigate us, help us go through this conversation of the pullback. You're dating someone, you're starting to experience some shifts in energy. Some of the dynamics are moving about. What do? We're feeling anxious. We got you. Johnathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to join you.
Yes. Very ready and excited for this conversation. As every Flirt Friday, inevitably, there are always multiple questions coming from the flirty that is starting to date someone, but then, communication starts to drop off a little bit. They feel the energy shifting. They feel they're maybe starting to become unavailable, emotionally distant. What do we do? How do we navigate those situations? Is it over? No. We're going to help you with all kinds of strategies, communication, otherwise. But Johnathan, how are you today?
I'm great. The sun is out. Life is fantastic. Just connecting with other than my kids being sick, it's been a fantastic start to the day. So start of the new kind of work year, I guess. Yeah. I think for a lot of people officially this time of year. So
definitely. Yeah. How many kids do you have?
We have two daughters, 12 and 8. And they're both sick, and they both like to bark orders and say, "Get me chocolate ice cream," and my throat hurts and stuff like that. All the fun stuff of being a parent.
That was kind of one of the best experience. I mean, being sick is never super fun, but as a kid, right, you get your couch bed, you're watching your TV shows, you're home from school, right, if you're going to school, and then my mom would always make M&M milkshakes, and that was, God. I kind of want to be sick right now a little bit.
Yeah. We're probably from a different generation. So my generation, what you got this little portable black and white TV. That had like 3 channels on it. Oh, yeah. And you would sit on the couch and you would cart that little TV around the house. And whether you went from your room to the couch, back to your room, and that's all you got to watch. It was like nothing on TV. It was like always talk shows and soap operas, and you'd have to wait till 4:00 to get some decent TV.
Right. Yeah. So my experience was a little bit different. It was always about Price is Right. And that was a time when I'm a millennial. So, right, you had all your daytime, right? We had Ricky Lake, we had Sally Jesse, Maury Povich. And then when Jerry Springer would come on, God,
that made for fun TV.
Well, we turned out okay, more or less.
So but doesn't Jerry Springer kind of expose I think the craziness of those shows really kind of gets involved in what we're going to be talking about today is that people have these deep wants and desires. Yeah. And they don't feel safe expressing them. Yeah. And this is why people pull back, and we can get into this, but absolutely. This is why people pull back, or why people get afraid to ask for them. And then when all that fear and reticence starts poking its head in a relationship, that's when the self-soothing behaviors come out. Because if you live a life you're not getting what you want, the only way you can do that is you got to fill that cup. And if the well you're trying to dip your cup in is empty, then you go dip it somewhere else. So
absolutely. Or you throw a chair or
a plate. My ex-girlfriend used to throw plates across the room.
Yeah, self-sabotage. Yeah, but we're not on Jerry Springer. We're living our real lives. Johnathan, how did you get started in this work?
Yeah, 10 years ago, I was a contractor. I'd gotten fired from a corporate job in marketing and bought a house and decided to renovate and then turn that into a construction company, but it was killing my body. And so after like 5 years of that, I was going back 10 years, 5 years into that, I was like, I got to do something different. And it was my best friend at the time that said, what about a master's degree in marriage and family therapy? And so I went and found that degree in the US and did that and kind of got my start. And it was also self-preservation. So like my childhood was extremely traumatic. My dad was like a total mess, totally abusive. It was horrendous. And so I always had a roadmap of, basically life was to do the opposite of everything he did, right? Okay. So it was pretty easy. But then I didn't have any semblance of a manual on how to have a happy marriage, how to have a happy long-term relationship. And so it kind of worked out really well to become a marriage and family therapist, because then I could kind of dissect for my own selfish reasons how to keep my wife happy with me and keep myself in a good long-term relationship. Yeah. And so that was kind of the impetus. And then it just kind of the ball has gotten rolling ever since. So
yeah. I love when we can, because I like to talk about big themes of healing and purpose and all of that good stuff on Flirtations. And so for the flirty that's listening, like, I don't know, it's a new year, right? What's my next move? I know I want to make some change or some changes. It's like, how do you like taking into account some interests or maybe some new interests, but also how do you like to help people? What do you like when you think about how you like to connect with others, sort of like what's going on there? And it sounds like you found a lot of healing, but also purpose in exploring the master's degree.
For sure. Yeah. I'm on a mission to save 1 million marriages. That's like my mission in life. And I definitely believe that that's why I was put here on earth. And I think I'm not good at a lot of things, but I was able to, I think through my traumatic childhood, I got hyper vigilant and hyper alert. Like I could come into your house and dissect, just looking at your kitchen, I could tell you the order in which you like to prepare your breakfast. My wife likes to laugh. I would have been a good spy or something like that, or investigator.
Good detective.
And yeah, exactly. And so, but that's my superpower when it comes to working with couples, is that I get to see, I can see through the wall, and I can really get through to them and find out what it is that they deeply, deeply desire, or what the cork in the bottle is what I like to say. Yeah. And so I really, and I'm not easily brainwashed. So like all the models of marriage and family therapy, like attachment theory and, the Gottman method and all these other, styles of relationship therapy. I quickly realized what works and what doesn't work. And they all work and they all don't work. But the problem is that when you get into these types of, models, especially like attachment theory, this is my favorite one that I'd love to throw shade at. Okay. You got to understand that if you're being diagnosed by your couples therapist as anxious, avoidant, or insecurely attached, just, have the disclaimer in your mind that maybe this person that's diagnosing me may have only gotten a C average in graduate school. So remind yourself that you're going to be listening to someone who may have not done much better than the average person graduating, and you're going to hang your hat on their diagnosis of you in your attachment style. So this is where I always tell people, like, let's not go down the rabbit hole of basically believing, all the negative things people may have or think about us. Sure. Let's start looking at what we can build, what we can truly accomplish. Because we're all beautiful, perfect beings. Yeah. Right. And so if you believe that, then there's so much hope, especially couples that are getting to know each other, right? Yeah. As you kind of get to know each other, you're so hopeful and you can accomplish anything. It's only when you start layering on the doubt, the self-doubt, the doubt of your partner, doubt of your relationship, that's when the pullback happens. That's when people start doubting, right? So
that's interesting because, I think oftentimes whether you're working with a practitioner, a therapist, a doctor, right, anyone that's a professional, you just want them to tell you, like, pinpoint, this is what's wrong, right? This is the problem. Just tell me how to fix it. And we all want some instant gratification, the quick fix, the magic pill solution, whatever. And what I feel like I'm hearing you say is your approach is much different.
Totally different. I'm not even remotely interested in what's wrong. Like, I've worked with couples that came to me and said they had a trust issue, which I assumed was like an infidelity.
Yeah.
They'd been married 10 years. I didn't at the end of therapy where they like had a completely successful outcome and said, thank you, Johnathan, we're great. I still, after 10, 15 sessions, didn't even know what we talked about, what they were talking about in terms of their trust issues. It's not even remotely interesting to me, the problem. What's interesting is where you're going instead. So for me to tell someone you're anxiously attached, well, they'll start looking for that evidence in their life of when they're anxiously attached. They'll find it. If someone comes to believe that they have an insecure attachment style, are you setting them up to be insecurely attached for the rest of their lives? Like, so
I think we have some things in common. Yeah, because on your mission to save, wait, you said 1 million marriages? Yeah. I love that. Me on a mission to help people flirt and connect. That's my mission. And I come at it from a perspective, right? I don't really use a lot of clinical language or terms in my content or on my podcast, attachment theory, attachment styles. You've really never heard me talk about it here and there because they are buzzworthy terms or terms in concepts a lot of people understand and they're interested in. So, right, you got to speak to what people are thinking about to an extent, but also then offering this other perspective, because I agree with you. It's confirmation bias. You hear, you start to identify with someone on the internet that is describing anxious attachment. They don't know you. They're just describing something and you identify with it. Oh my God, I must be that way. I must be that thing. I don't know that's, well, who am I to say it's not helpful? If you find that helpful, I want you to find healing and all that good
People
stuff.
Do whatever they want, for sure.
But I'm with you. Yeah. I'm more interested in where we're going. And as a coach, it's right. Like the crux of coaching is motivational interviewing. Like that is basically the entire basis of my work. And so when you're encountering those resistance, those blocks to change, how can we move through that with a little bit more ease, perhaps more purpose, more focus? Yeah.
100%.
So talking about the pullback, something I'm sure you see in your work with couples, and there's flirties listening that are in long-term relationships that are taking a break, but also very much dating. And this is where a lot of the questions came through. How would you describe the pullback, right? The classic energy shift.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I think you could trace the pullback, whether someone's pulling back on you or you're doing the pulling back. Yeah. I think you could trace it back to two things that are integral to me in my work.
Okay.
And that is, everyone has to believe they deserve the relationship of their dreams. And everyone has to believe they're capable of building or cultivating a relationship of their dreams. And if they have doubt about that ability to be capable or deserving of that relationship, that's when you'll start pulling back. If someone doesn't think that they can have with you a beautiful, long-term, happy relationship, they'll pull back. And we do that to protect our ego, because nothing is worse than you standing in front of the mirror in the morning, looking at yourself and saying, the reason why I don't have a successful relationship is because I failed. Like most people's ego cannot handle that blow.
Yeah.
The thing though is that they're deluded in the sense that as long as you're continuing the journey of cultivating a beautiful relationship, you're by definition a success. It's only when you stop, that's when you fail. Right? So if they were to just keep going and keep trying and working, whether it's with this particular person or someone else, as long as you're on the horse, you're by definition a success. It's when you get off the horse, that's when you're a failure. But if someone doesn't think they deserve true happiness, either they'll let their partner pull back or they'll pull back, but it just opens that door. Or on the other flip side, if they don't think they're capable of a happy, long-term, loving relationship, then it'll be like, oh, this is getting too hot. I got to turn the temperature down. Right.
Right.
So it's those doubts about themselves. They truly don't believe it. Now, and the way I kind of relate this is that my wife had 2 children, and she could tell you on the day that they were born, when they came into this world, they already had a personality.
Okay.
Everyone has a soul. Everyone has a personality on the day that they're born, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Everyone. Like the way they latch is different, how they like to be held, right from birth, right? But no one can look at a newborn baby and say it's not perfect. Okay. Like that being as it comes in on that first day is immaculate. It's perfect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, but all of us have that same personality inside of us. And so if we were perfect on the day we were born and we're perfect today, well, perfect things deserve everything they want, and perfect things are capable of whatever they want. It's just somewhere along the line, they believe the self-conditioning lies that they're not perfect. So all the flirties, everyone out there, I would tell them, just like I tell everyone else, we are all perfect. That's why you never hear me use diagnostic criteria like bipolar and, ADHD and stuff like that. I believe in the symptomology. I would never use those labels. Okay. And I can't tell you how many people message me saying, oh, my partner is autism, or they're on the spectrum, or they got ADHD. This is like the first description they use to describe the person they're married to or their child. Thinking to myself, if I had any of those symptomologies, this would be the last thing I'd be telling people about myself. I wouldn't lead with that. I would be like, that's not even remotely interesting. Right? And so to make a long story short is that if we're all walking this earth perfect, wonderful beings, then by design, if you truly believe that, as I do, then we all deserve what we deeply desire, and we're all capable of it, right? So hopefully, if I can give that mindset shift to everyone that's listening to this podcast, it's to really, truly say to yourself, I deserve a loving, beautiful relationship. And I'm capable of creating a loving, beautiful relationship. And if you believe those 2 things to be true, then you will hold yourself to a higher standard. You won't accept red flag behavior. You'll say, this is perfect. People deserve to be treated perfectly. Yes, people can make mistakes. Yes, there could be, hiccups along the way, and we can forgive and all that stuff. But your behavior should be honest, should be show self-reflection. You should be trying. So, we would hold people and ourselves to a higher standard and say, no, you know what? This relationship doesn't work for me. I'm happy you're pulling away. Right?
Yeah, I really understand and feel what you're saying, speaking to believing that you are deserving of the love that you seek, knowing a lot of that love comes from within, right? The love you have for yourself, but also that you're capable of it. And I think what you were sharing a little bit earlier in the episode, that there's so much, right? We come in these perfect beings, and then along the way start to believe or develop and believe our imperfections and really associate and identify with them. And you were talking about your childhood. And so how maybe you started to form a different model when it came to dating and relationships, right? Like, because you said you basically just did the opposite of everything your dad did. Yeah. So I mean, our familial dynamics and our upbringing are huge when it comes to dating.
Yeah. I think I, despite my father's like who he was and everything that he did, he still flipped the switch in me that he still said you can do and be anything you want.
Okay.
Like I got lucky there. Like even though it was through his abuses and whatnot, and how he abused my mom and stuff like that. And my mom, it was actually my mom that was more pessimistic of my potential than my dad, interestingly enough. My mom would always be like, settle for this, just get a job, like that type of thing. Whereas my dad that always like pushed me to succeed and to, reach out for my dreams.
Okay.
But I think everyone needs to understand, if you didn't get that message as a kid, you got to learn it quickly, because you only get one kick at this can. You don't want to be learning this at 68. My dad died at 68, right? You don't want to learn it 2 days before his death. like, or 2 days before your death, like my dad did. You want to learn it now. Learn quickly now that you deserve it. You're capable of it. Just go out and get it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And we're gonna offer some strategies to the flirties here in that kind of hope belief category, for sure. And I want to ask you, in your work, working mainly with couples, how you observe this kind of pullback in long-term relationships.
It always comes out in the self-soothing behavior.
Okay.
It's like always evident. It's either porn addiction, it's or alcohol, drugs. Like those are pretty common. Porn is pretty common. For women, I think a lot of it comes out in complaining and bickering. Like if I'm like kind of going on genders a little bit, you definitely see that. Like women will complain and bicker as opposed to just asking for what they want. And they'll tell you, and men do this too, but I think men just do it a little bit less. But people that are complaining and bickering about their relationship, they'll tell you with a straight face that they're asking for what they want, but then like you listen to them and you're like, that's not asking for what you want. That's like telling your partner all the things you don't like about them, that if it just that pain ended, you would love them. But I'm like, no, you're not giving them a North Star. You're just basically telling them what not to do. And so that self-soothing now, and then obviously social media and our phones. Like our phones are kind of like a heroin. They're like so toxic to any system, like these days, dopamine. Sketchy phone behavior is like crazy. I'm sure you must encounter it, but
just a little bit.
It's the random friend requests, it's the DMing, it leads to the emotional connections with someone other than your spouse and
100%,
or someone else other than your partner. And those are kind of things to watch out for sure.
So when
those are all the classic signs of that pullback behavior.
Okay. So. And when you're talking about self-soothing, are these like coping mechanisms to just
it's basically
a distraction?
How do I get my dopamine?
To make us feel good, to make us feel better, or maybe we're trying to recreate or kind of like get back that initial spark or chemistry if we're feeling dissatisfied or indifferent or bored in our relationships. Would you say oftentimes the pullback, whether it's you or your partner, is from an unexpressed need? Is that?
So let's do one thing too. Like you got to take that word need and just completely banish it from your lexicon as it relates to like needs. Boundaries is a close second, but needs is hands down the stupidest word I've ever heard when it comes to relationships.
What would you say
completely? Just say wants and desires.
Wants and desires. Okay, I'm officially banishing needs from all coaching and content.
For sure. Don't like it. And honestly, if you speak in needs, you're just speaking like all the other brainwashed relationship experts, right?
Well, I
share your needs, express your needs. It's all brainwashing. It's all like if 98% exactly, and it's honestly, it's why it's different. I get daily emails. 2 days ago, I got someone said, Johnathan, just one of your captions on Instagram saved my marriage. I get people reaching out to me. I get people reaching out every single day saying my work is transformational. The reason why it's because it's not all the mainstream mumbo jumbo BS crap.
Okay.
The only reason why people convert a want or a desire into a need is simply because they're not getting that want or desire enough that they got to emotionally charge it to make it more valid and justified.
Okay.
Like when did you ever hear a 5-year-old say, I need to feel connected to you?
No, never.
They don't. They just say, I want. My kid just barked at me. I want chocolate ice cream because their throat is sore, right?
Yeah.
And they just tell you what they want. They don't tell you what they need.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to think about like why we may have developed this language that says need versus want or desire. I don't know, something for me to think about. But what do you, how about boundaries? What term would you use in place there?
So let me put it this way. If someone is expressing a boundary, all they're doing is telling you what they don't want you to do.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? How is that a North Star for you? Like That's the same as you sitting down at a restaurant telling the waiter not to bring you pizza. Don't bring me the hamburger. I don't want the pasta. Don't bring me the fish.
Okay.
He's going to stand there and be like, well, what do I bring you then?
Right. Okay. So coming back to wants and desires?
Coming back to wants and desires. Tell your partner what you want them to do instead of what you don't want them to do.
I love that. It's a much more positive framework and connects back to your work of where are we going.
For sure. Yeah. And let me ask you this, and this is why I think 98% of couples therapists are terrible. Have you ever heard in a conversation with your partner or someone you were dating, them say, I need you to do this? And the minute you heard the word need, that your ears didn't perk up and the hair stood up on the back of your neck and you're like, uh-oh, what did I do wrong?
Yeah. It's off.
Does that word ever feel good?
No, it feels it's kind of like I'm getting sort of ultimatum-y type of like I need this and like it's this or that, right? It's not an and or. It's like I need like do this, and now I might feel, depending on if it's what the request or ask is, but it's having this framed as I want or I desire is I think much more appealing and inviting, right? It's now a conversation. It gets to become a back and a forth, and it doesn't mean you expressing something as a want is kind of softening the request. I think it's then about it's keeping it more pure. Collaborative. Yeah.
Collaborative, pure, innocent. And then, so the only reason why people convert a want into a desire into a need is because over time they haven't been getting what they want. Yeah. So then they feel now like I've got to emotionally charge this with like nitrous oxide to make it like, even more powerful. And so then they start speaking in terms of needs. But what they don't really understand is that when someone can't give you what you want, it's usually not because they don't want to. It's usually because they're either thoughtless, lazy, or insensitive.
Okay.
Right? I don't want to make love to you because I'm feeling lazy tonight. I don't want to cook tonight. I forgot to pick up stuff home from work at the grocery store. I was thoughtless. I was a bit brash and I was insensitive to your pain. Like you can trace people's shitty behavior towards one another back to thoughtlessness, laziness, or insensitivity. Right?
Okay.
But the reality is all of us have the capacity to be any one of those things multiple times a day.
Sure.
Right? Yeah, I know I am. I'm not a perfect, I've been married 15 years and completely happy, and I'm a couples therapist, but I can still be an a-hole from time to time. But the point is that if couples just get better at recognizing when you don't have the gas in the tank to give your partner what they want, all you have to do is say this magic phrase.
Okay.
Sorry, sweetheart, I'm feeling thoughtless, lazy, or insensitive at this moment. I'd love to help you get what you want. How can I make it up to you? Like that phrase, how can I make it up to you? If that was just like uttered 50% more often in most people's relationships, like how many relationships would we save if just people said, how could I make it up to you?
1 million. A lot.
Like probably 1 million, right?
Yeah. So, okay. I get that. So a lot of the pullback, the energy shifts where, right, someone is becoming more distant, they're retreating, and your work is usually tied to this unexpressed want or need. And then it also sounds like a lack of ability to communicate around that experience. And so then it just deepens the divide, and now you're going to your soothing mechanisms, right? The phone, the porn, the whatever, or you become, right, kind of complaining, nagging, bickering, really kind of picking those fights. And then I can imagine no one's happy at that point. Like it's
or is the grass always greener? Like, you'll still have your dating profile up and you'll be like, I'm pulling back here, but maybe I'm going to keep looking over there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll say I feel like not exclusively what I see in dating, but a lot of what I see is, you're in the early stages, so you haven't committed to someone or you haven't even become exclusive. So you're off the apps, you're only dating one another. It's like, oh, but what if, maybe the grass is greener on the other side. I'm going to keep my options open, right? I see so much content around, right? Like who's on your roster today? Like I know if you live online like me, you've seen that style of content, or it's right, just match energy. So if they start to pull back, you pull back harder and then get them to chase you. And like this is so ridiculous. Like I can't stand it. I imagine you can't either.
No, like to me, I wish I could just give this gift to people to just, this talent, this skill, this tool, the strategy, whatever you want to call it, to just go out and ask your partner for what you want, right?
Yeah.
You want more intimacy, you want more variety. Like, for example, sex addiction, like I had worked with clients this past week where they're coming with sex addiction. I'm like, if you want more sex, like, could you not go to your partner and say, I want to be a sex addict for a while, but I'm going to make you the object of my addiction, right? Like, isn't that a lot more adaptive than, say, going out and reaching out for escorts and prostitutes and stuff like that? Like, I mean, just ask for what you want. Now, your partner may say, 4 times a week is all I can give you. Well, that's better than 2. And so you're probably getting a little bit closer, and you can enter into a conversation of how can we bring more excitement or more joy or more variety into our intimacy? Like, now you guys are brainstorming together. Right. Yeah. So one of you's got high libido and the other's got the lower libido. Go to your partner and say, I really want to be intimate as much as possible. I'm addicted to you. I'm attracted to you. I love you. It's how I express myself. I'd love more of this. Well, then have a good conversation about it. But the minute someone with that higher libido feels like they can't, then the self-soothing behavior begins. Then the DMing, and then the cams, and then it turns into maybe going out and affairs and stuff like that, right? But all of this could have been headed off at the pass if someone were to just be able to feel good and safe expressing what their deep desire is to their partner, right?
And going back to believing that you deserve and are capable of. And this is, where I feel like a lot of my work as the flirt coach exists, because I really I like to speak on these also, like big themes of trust and vulnerability and intimacy, knowing like what my capabilities are as a coach. I'm not a therapist or a psychiatrist, but I am a coach, and I can help you learn how to develop trust within yourself, within connections with people you're dating, how to express yourself, ask for what you want, not what you need, but what you want. And this is where a lot of daters and flirties, they don't ask for what they want. They don't. They try and sort of insinuate through actions or drop hints, and maybe those bids for connection, which is what they ultimately aren't received or aren't acknowledged. And this is it. Just there's going to be some ambiguity dating in general. There's going to be some discomfort and some anxiety, but I think we can limit a lot of it by just being direct and communicating and being honest with ourselves and believing in ourselves. I think
definitely
there's always going to be something to talk about.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. Like if people just have the courage more, but again, you'll only express your want or your desire if you feel safe enough that your partner is genuinely interested in helping you get what you desire. Right? If you find yourself in a relationship with someone who shuts down, who doesn't want to go to therapy, I get so many men and women that reach out to me saying, my partner absolutely refuses to talk to anyone like you. What do I do? And that kind of shocks me. It kind of blows my mind that people can be so afraid of a conversation. Like big alpha men can't have a simple emotional conversation. I'm like, I don't know where the fragility comes from, but it's certainly there. So,
oh yeah. And I see that in my work as well. Let's get into an example of the pullback in dating and what we could do in these situations and some communication strategies. So a pretty classic one here, coming from a flirty who says consistent dates and communications for 2 months. And then right now you're starting to see the wishy-washy, oh, I need to cancel our date, but let's reschedule for next week. Or, oh, now they're not texting or communicating as much. And so you're starting to feel and sense that push or that pull back from your partner, from someone you're dating. How could a communication strategy or tip for that situation?
Yeah. So the first thing would be, it's my sincere belief that with time, relationships get more serious or they get less serious.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So as you kind of go, days turn into weeks, turn into months, turn into years, you should be getting more serious and not less serious. And so if you find yourself, 2 months in, you've had the intimacy, the honeymoon stage where you couldn't keep your hands off each other, things were amazing. And then now you're seeing that communication decline. Yeah. Then you want to ask yourself, was this the relationship I dreamed of when I was a young boy or girl? Right? Did I envision not being, being left on red, for example?
Yeah.
And sending messages. And, I one of my clients, he was hearing from a girl every hour, and then it turned into 8 hours that she'd reply. Right. What does that tell you? And in my mind, if you really truly believe that you deserve the best relationship ever, what I would say to that person is, I'd say, take all the time you need to get serious about us. But I'm just not going to wait around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. You may not find me waiting. You take all the time. You can come back in 6 months or 6 weeks. I may be here, but I may not be.
Okay.
Right. And I know it's hard to let people go, but I also believe in intuitive dating. And, I call it the red flag, green flag method. And so, you got to pay attention to those things. And if someone is showing those signs, go back to what I said and what we talked about, being capable and deserving. Yeah. If you're perfect when you came into this world and you're still perfect today, then you deserve a great committed relationship. Yeah. Right. If that's what you truly want. If you're looking for a situationship, then fine.
For sure. Yeah.
By all means, it's,
Yeah. I'm a big believer too, that it's I want people to, not rush and identify love bombing as interest, right? Just because they're texting good morning doesn't mean they want a relationship. And so I'm even, I want people the flirties to talk about their intentions, but it's that classic first date conversation. What are you looking for? A relationship? What are you looking for? A relationship? And now we think, fantastic, we're, kind of dating. It doesn't mean you're looking for a relationship with one another. I think I love the dating intuitively approach here. And that, yes, relationships, connections grow deeper over time. So if you're feeling that pullback is happening from them or for you, this kind of giving space to the connection approach, I think doesn't mean I'm going to be here when you decide to come around. But what I definitely don't want the flirties to do is, because I got this question too. It's well, I'm starting to blame myself, right? I'm starting to criticize, and what did I do wrong? How did I mess up? And maybe now you're chasing or you're looking for a distraction. You're back on the app, swiping. You're going to, I don't know, chat rooms or Reddit or wherever. You're just looking to kind of replace this connection because you're feeling a loss. Maybe you're feeling they're starting to pull away and you want to pull them back in. So I understand
that. But I think it's about looking for kindred spirits. Even when you reached out about the podcast to do this interview, and I get asked a lot and I don't do a ton of them, but I knew instantly that I would want to join you on your podcast just because I saw your page and I was there's a passion here. There's this is a good person, right? So I think people really need to trust your instinct. And, if people tell small white lies, or if people, blow off work for the sake of getting hungover, going out and being hungover and not, if they have not the best character, maybe that's not the person you want to throw all your eggs in with, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe that's the person that's like, ooh, this person's maybe going to hurt me down the line.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't someone to, to kind of jump into bed with. And maybe this is a person that, if they're showing this wishy-washiness, maybe there's a reason for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, absolutely. What's the red flag, green flag method?
I truly believe that actions speak louder about someone's character than their words, right?
100%.
And so, it's simple things. Everyone has their own line in the sand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm not in a dating world, and I'm a Gen Xer, so I missed all the apps. Like I did meet my wife on eHarmony, but that was like you had to send emails. There was no app for it, right? It was like
right.
Like this is back in 2008, right?
Yeah.
But were I out in the dating world today, I would be very, what's someone's Instagram profile like? Are you with someone who follows a lot of people that they don't know, visually appealing, attractive people? Is your partner, is the person that you're dating the type of person that would accept random DMs and friend requests and start communicating emotionally? I love the other coworkers, going out for drinks after, or having an emotional connection with coworkers outside of work, right? So my wife or we would never DM someone that we worked with, about their Christmas and what did you get for Christmas and how you doing and what are you doing this weekend type stuff. I'm not saying that if other people want to do that, it's totally fine. Everyone, if you're 18 years old, do whatever makes you feel good. So communicate more if you like it. I just think it's a red flag. I think it opens the door for emotional connection with someone other than your partner. Yeah. And I think that's what we really need to be careful of. Now, if you're very good at it, again, have at it, right? But, I've done a lot of reels. One of my best ones is go for 14 million plays. Damn. On the sketchy phone behavior. And you just you decide what you want in your, this whole privacy with phones and not sharing passwords and stuff like that. Yeah. I just think those are kind of red flags, right?
Yeah. Because they, to your point, speak to intentions and action over no, I'm not doing anything. No, don't worry. It's just no big deal kind of thing. But you're following 100 Instagram influencer model types of people that kind of all probably look the same. You're following them because you think they're hot. You like looking at their pictures. And I get that question.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't personally do it. My wife doesn't do it because we don't want to disrespect each other. Absolutely. But I understand, for example, for men, there's a hormone in us. There's testosterone going through our bodies where a lot of men can be hypersexual. They can, they love, they want to masturbate. They want to watch porn. If they're not hurting someone, I'm by all means, right? So every couple needs to kind of decide what's there and what's not, what the boundaries are. But I think when it bleeds into things like the emotional connections and stuff like that, I think you got to be really careful, personally. So.
Yeah, because it's that emotional connection that opens the door for intimacy and vulnerability. And when you start connecting on those levels, especially if there's some physical attraction, perhaps unexplored, you're just will you have the self-control, the impulse control to not go further? If you're already opening the door, probably not.
And then on top of that, if let's say you're the one that's out, friending people or checking people's profiles out or, following these people, liking the videos, using porn. Yeah. And you're sending a very unfavorable message, I think, to your partner. I see it all the time where the partner finally wakes up and they're like, I'm done. See you later. And then now this person is scrambling. How do I save my marriage of 15 years? We got 2 kids. And they're like, I don't really care. I'm checked out. I'm gone. Right. You sent me this message for years that I was unimportant, that you didn't. And this is what I have a program that I run with people, with my clients. It's called the Chosen and Cherished Club. Yeah. Right. It's you join it because I teach you how to choose and cherish your partner and send that message to them. So I think we got to be careful. People need to feel chosen and cherished. And if they don't, they walk. So
Yeah. I, yeah, I agree with you. I want to ask you this question now, coming back to the hope and belief part of the conversation. This flirty says they were slow faded for a few months, right? This connection, someone they were dating, did not work out. They were getting that pullback from this person for a while. I don't have a lot of context here about, like, were there some unexpressed wants and needs? How's the communication? Were you open? Were you exclusive? I'm not sure, but they say they're struggling to let go. So speaking to or talking to about that experience a little bit, yeah, if you are in a heartbreak or how do I let go kind of situation mindset, how could you do that and still believe?
Yeah, that's hard. And one of my really good friends who helped me through this program of mine, like, name the red flag, green flag method. He's a really great guy. We talked a lot about this topic, like, how do you let go? How do you move on? I don't have a formula for that. I think what the formula is to really get clear on what it is that you deeply desire. And I think what happens is when you can visualize, when you can put the image in your mind of what that loving relationship looks like. And I'm talking about the one where we're on the same team. We have the same financial goals. We want to go to Italy together and buy a house there. We want to, walk our dog together. We want, to invite our friends over. This is the life that we want to live together. I want you to build an image in that mind of yours of what your ideal relationship looks like. And I think we can skip, like, if, again, letting go, that's just if you're saying I need to let go or I want to let go, you're still talking about something you don't want.
Yeah.
So what I would rather you do is just skip over that conversation and really start to build the image in your mind of what you deeply desire.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Maybe visualize it, write it down, describe
write it down.
Yeah. I think these are really
I've got a goal
strategies.
card on my, I've written an index card. I've got 5 goals on there that I read on a daily basis. One of them is, how do I grow my Instagram account to 500,000 followers?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now, I didn't know how to do that, but I'm now over 200,000 and we're only 8 months in.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just like you ask yourself what you want in the form of a how do I question, and the universe, God, your higher power will send you the answer.
Okay. So, how do I question? I love that. I'm going to do that because I could take some social media tips from you and dating tips. Absolutely. Relationship tips. Yeah. And this is, I mean, one of the many reasons I love talking about healing so much, because it's like when you start to visualize and describe and just really feel this connection, this relationship that you want and desire, that you're capable of, that you believe you can have. It's like, is that your future person going to be the one that doesn't text you back for 5 days at a time? The one who, is on their phone when you're on a date? Like, no. They're not. And so get used to just identifying some of these red flag behaviors early on, and it might involve some more rejection and from you. Like, you might be saying no to more people, but at each no is going to move you closer towards just believing and hoping and finding your person.
Yeah, I like the whole slow to hire, quick to fire is, if I was not married, that would be my mantra. I would go out, I would be very slow in getting into a relationship. And then if I started seeing the red flags, I'd be like quick to fire.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game. I truly think dating is a numbers game.
To a large extent. It is, but better to end a connection that isn't fulfilling, that doesn't feel good before, right? You get into the marriage that's 5-10 years, and you just are having maybe regrets, or you're with someone, you're with a partner that doesn't want to do any of the work, that's lazy and indifferent and insensitive all the time.
Definitely. And that's some people just can't make the effort. They truly are they have their own blocks. right?
Yeah.
So
don't date potential. Don't date the version of them you think they could be.
Definitely not.
Right.
No.
Yeah, I saw this video recently that was so interesting. It's like you're dating the person. Yes, you're falling in love with the person, but also with the version of you and how you feel around them, right? If they're always bringing out your insecurities and your anxieties and your overthinking, probably not the person for you, or even the person to help you cultivate that sense of safety and vulnerability. Yeah.
And if you needed reassurance, if you needed more trust and more, like more reminders that you're important, you should be able to ask for that. And if you can't, then that should be a warning sign to you. Like, what's unsafe about this relationship that I don't feel like I can express that desire, right? So
absolutely. I agree as well. Johnathan, thank you so much. This has been an incredibly fast, but really insightful and meaningful conversation. I know the Flirties are going to have a lot of amazing takeaways. I want to send them your way. They can enroll in some of your programs, work with you, follow along.
Yeah,
how can they do that?
I'm really right now just mostly on Instagram. I have like 90 followers on TikTok, which is a completely different platform to grow on. But they can find me at Couples Therapy with Johnathan on Instagram. So that's probably the best way to look me up. So
I will send the Flirties your way. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
For me, I really believe in building that image in your mind of what you truly deeply want and deeply desire. And so, if you find, especially for anyone that's listening, that's having a hard time in their current relationship, just build that image in your mind of that relationship that you really desired when you were a young kid, when you were 15, 16, 18, and you really thought, I want to grow old and I want to get married or, start a family and whatever that's going to look like. Somewhere along the lines, you got the message that you didn't deserve that or that you couldn't build that, and nothing could be further from the truth. So the best thing you do is just get more reacquainted with what you really want. Hopefully it'll stick, and then you'll find some motivation to go out and get it.
Yeah.
So
I love it. Johnathan Van Viegen, thank you so much for being
Thanks
on
so much for having
today.
me. Yeah, it was fantastic. It was so much fun.
Well, I'll be damned if we haven't reached the end of another episode of Flirtations. Thank you to our guest, Johnathan Van Viegen, for being on the show today and offering just some really cool reframes. Like, you're not going to hear me talk about needs anymore in my content or really on the show. It's now wants and desires. I might play around with how I approach and explore boundaries. Yeah, I thought this was so just fun and insightful, and I really hope you got some good takeaways and great information from this conversation today. Thank you, Johnathan, for being on the show, and thank you to you, the Flirty. Could not do any of this without your listens, your downloads, your subscribes, your support, your shares, your comments, everything. You truly make all of this possible. Otherwise, I would just be here in my kitchen, which is where I record Flirtations. You're propped up. The mic and everything is on the counter right now. I'd kind of just be talking to myself, which would not be unlike really any other day of the week, but it's nice to have a conversation and talk with you and have this experience with you. So thank you so much for listening, for tuning in, for streaming, wherever you may be in the world. Yes, like, rate, subscribe, all the stuff. Share this with someone you even mildly like. Yeah, you want to share some BFE, Big Flirt Energy with. I'd love you for it. Greatly appreciate it. Okay, officially signing off here at Flirt Headquarters. My name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach and Gay Libra Flirty. I wish you one thing, and that is happy flirting.